enjoy this like interview with me. Okay. And okay, so the first question
Yep.
for you is like, what are the biggest concerns of global directors?
Sure. Look, we've actually done some research on this quite recently and extended out this question across our client base globally. There were a number of responses, and the three that kind of striked out the most for me were how organizations can remain compliant across multiple legal entities on a global scale. So, here in Vietnam, for example, you've obviously got statutory obligations. That's also relevant for every company, every country rather, in which you operate. So, how do you keep track of that, and how do you keep control of that? The other one was about enforcing the culture that you're really looking to promote throughout your organization, and how can you actually continue to maintain and control that culture and review that culture. And I think the other thing that really struck out was also, and there are a number of issues that were raised, but how can board members also remain in control of ensuring that they're ticking everything off on that to-do list as well? There are greater risks today, there is more and more obligation, things are changing at a faster pace, and I really think that board members are becoming a lot more conscious of this.
And the second question, what is your view on governance in Vietnam and the new corporate governance code?
Sure. Great question. So look, I think it's first of all very exciting that Vietnam has made the decision to introduce the code. I think it's pretty critical for the success of the country moving forward. As we all know, there's obviously a trade war occurring between the US and China at the moment. And in order for Vietnam to truly have a chance of competing, they need organizations with a good, solid corporate governance structure in place. And so for me, I think it's very timely, and I think it's going to have a great effect, and I think it's going to introduce a lot of impactful change to organizations throughout the country.
And the last question for you is, can you give some like international experience so that Vietnamese business can have a better and more effective like corporate governance system?
Sure. Again, a great question. There's a list full of things that I could go through. I could talk to you all day. I'm going to pick the top three. The first one is having in place a company secretary, having in place somebody that can introduce the concept of governance, educate the board, side with the board, partner with them, and mentor them through what's required in order to abide and adopt that actual code of conduct that's recently been introduced. The second piece for me, and I talked a lot about this before, is acknowledgement that a board needs to be diverse. It needs to have diversity, and I'm not talking about age and gender. I'm talking also about skill sets. What if an organization were to have a cybersecurity attack, but yet there's nobody on the board that has the knowledge or the capabilities to educate people and to guide the organization through such a crisis, knowing that such a crisis could have detrimental impacts, not just financially, but reputationally as well. So I think acknowledgement from the classic male club, old school boards, actually saying, you know what, we need somebody on the board that's never been on a board before. We need somebody on the board that's got IT skills and knowledge, and we need women on our board, and having that acknowledgement that I'm not saying that board members over 70 need to retire and move off the board. What I'm saying is that they need to open up another couple of chairs on that board to open up the challenges or open up the questions, the difficult questions that they may need to address. The third one, and for me the most important one, is how can a board be truly successful if they're not monitoring themselves? And so conducting a regular board evaluation I think is really critical, again, to ensuring that board members are across their own direction from a personal point of view. They need to be doing a very transparent and honest self-assessment of themselves. Where can they improve? How can they do a better job? They need to conduct peer-to-peer assessments. So if we were on a board together, what do I think of you and what do you think of me? And of course, it's important that those results remain anonymous. However, I think it's critical feedback. And then the final board evaluation that we constantly talk about is just a general board performance review. How are we as a board operating based on our global goals that we've set out to achieve, and what can we be doing better. Let's go through that evaluation process. Let's then take those results, review those results, and actually act upon them as well and complete that journey.
Thank you so much.
No worries. No worries. Thank you.